Hello, friends. It's Sam Cheney reporting for Weaponized News. Today's July 1st, 2026. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday edition of Weaponized News. Quite a bit to get to today. Treason, I don't know, take your pick, by ambassadors, by the president. We'll take a look at all of this. Accusations of treason being lobbed at Trump. We're going to take a look at this. Otherworldly Trump financial corruption. We're going to take a look at all of this. He knows nothing. Other people manages finances. Sure. The ins and outs of the Iran war here now. We're still looking for Iranians to talk to. So we'll take a look at the latest on the Iran war as talks in Doha have wrapped up. We'll take a look at that. What else do we got? Yeah, just a bunch of treachery coming out of the Trump administration. We'll cover that. Epstein reporting. Some of this, just a lot of sordid child abuse reporting here. More from the House Oversight Committee on child sex trafficking. It's all quite evil, all quite horrific. As one witness today to the House Oversight Committee said, cartels would create Sears-like booklets of children for trafficking. We'll play you that testimony. Bunch of economic news, like I said, bunch of geopolitical news. And the attacks in Lebanon and Gaza continue. And we'll go over all of the ins and outs there. Tragically enough, they're stacking bodies. All right, let's get to this day in history. We had quite a few events I felt significant enough that we should mention here on Weaponized News. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I see people coming online now. Shout out to Mac and Ruckus over there. Mac says Weaponized News is on the ball. Thank you, Mac. We try to be. All right, let's blast through this day in history. We've got quite a few events. On this day of July 1st, we go all the way back to the year 70. We saw Roman general Titus and his forces set up battering rams to assault the walls of Jerusalem all the way back in the year 70. Then we fast way forward to the year 1200. Sunglasses are invented in China. On approximately this date in the year 1200. And I don't know, I always felt like when I was a kid, I wanted to find the cool sunglasses, right? But I don't know, there's a lot of reports out there that the sunglasses, you need that. Your eyes actually do need the sun. So I would take a look at those reports before wearing sunglasses all the time. Anyhow, fast forward again on this day in history to the year 1517. We saw the first burning of Protestants at the stake in the Netherlands. On this day in 1535, some more treason here. Thomas More on trial. Thomas More goes on trial in England on the charges of treason for refusing to accept Henry VIII's supremacy over the Pope. On this day in 1731, Benjamin Franklin and members of Junto Community Improvement Club draw up articles of agreement to found the Library Company of Philadelphia, the first public library in British America, starting off a bunch of conspiracy theories. reading, libraries. It's all a big conspiracy. 1862 on this day. Major screw up right here by Russia. Why they fell. Part of it, right? A big part of it. 1862 on this day, Alexander II, Tsar of Russia, grants aardvarks right to publish books. Big mistake, buddy. It would come back to bite the Russian Empire via the Bolshevik Revolution. On this day, a lot happened in 1862 here in America, part of the Civil War, part of raising funds for the Civil War. Few battles here and there in Battle of Boonville, Mississippi, Battle of Melvin Hill, 7-day battle. Yeah, all bad, American Civil War. But on this day in 1862, real bad, the Revenue Act of 1862 establishes first U.S. income tax, 3% of income over $600, 5% of income over $10,000, and a variety of excise taxes on goods in order to fund the Civil War is signed into law. Taxation's theft. All wars are bankers' wars, and war's a racket. Never forget it. Never forget those facts as they sell you all this bullshit patriotism. On this day in 1862, U.S. Internal Revenue Law imposes first federal taxes on inheritance, tobacco, and incomes over $600, progressive rate. And we also saw part of American Civil War here on this, or the next year, actually, 1863. We saw the Battle of Gettysburg kick off. Battle of Gettysburg begins in Philadelphia. Union forces halt Confederate General Robert E. Lee's Army of Northern Virginia, Army of Northern Aggression, as some have called it. On this day in 1874, on this day in we did have one more in 1863, slavery abolished in Dutch colonies. On this day in 1874, we saw the first U.S. kidnapping for ransom. 4-year-old Charles Ross was kidnapped and ransomed for $20,000. That was quite a sum of money in 1874. Also in 1874, we saw the first zoo in the United States open in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. 1879, on this day, Charles Russell publishes the first edition of the illustrated religious magazine, The Watchtower. We do love our cults and Jehovah's Witnesses. 1904, on this day, we saw the first U.S. Olympic Games, the first U.S. Summer Olympic Modern Games in St. Louis, Missouri, held here in America. Here's a poster for it. Olympic Games, as you can see at the World's Fair, Louisiana Purchase Exposition, kicking off the first modern Summer Olympic Games on this day. On this day, 1904. 1916 on this day, we saw a tragic loss of British soldiers. 5 miles of mud cost 1 million casualties. On this day, 1916, first day of the Battle of Somme in World War I, the British Army suffers its worst day of casualties, losing 19,240 men. On this day, 1931, then U.S. President Herbert Hoover places a 1-year moratorium on war debt payments. 1934, on this day, we saw the first X-ray photo of the entire body taken by Arthur Fucus of Eastman Kodak Company in New York. 1943 on this day, we saw pay-as-you-go first withholding tax from paychecks, your W-2, right? They automatically just steal that money. Nothing you can do about your FICA tax. There is a little bit you can do about federal withholdings. Everybody should look into that. The very next year, in 1944, the foundation of the modern central banking monetary system, Bretton Woods Conference, starts. And it led to the establishment of the IMF and the World Bank, and also the establishment of the US dollar as the world's reserve currency, I would add there. On this day, 1946, US drops atom bomb allegedly on Bikini Atoll in the Marshall Islands, the fourth atomic explosion. I'm having a real hard time. I'm having a real hard time with all of this nuke propaganda. Anyhow, moving forward, 1950, on this day, the first 407 U.S. soldiers flew to South Korea. 1960, on this day, Castro seizes oil refineries, nationalizing them. And now we're seeing saber rattling again today by America about who is it? Trump and Lindsey Graham out there saber rattling about how we're going to go ahead and invade Cuba. So they're next on the list. They keep saying it. We shall see. We shall see when Cuba kicks off. We haven't even finished up Iran yet. On this day, 1968, the CIA's Phoenix program is officially established. On this day, 1981, Laurel Canyon, California murders. 4 people die and 1 is wounded. 1991, on this day, documentary Terminator 2 Judgment Day is released. And so it really is starting to, I don't know about the whole time travel thing, but everything else about it is like really starting to look like a documentary here now. On this day in 2002, the International Criminal Court is established to prosecute individuals for genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, and the crime of aggression. And literally, it's worthless. Like, yeah, here's indictments. Go enforce them. Nobody will here. We'll see how radical of a democratic socialist Muslim the New York Mayor Mamdani is later this month when they have a big UN policing conference, and aardvarks are going to show up there that are straight up war criminals convicted in the International Criminal Court. So we'll see how all of that works out. My prediction is they're not going to do jack. On this day in 2020, most evil president in the world, Vladimir Putin. Obviously, Putin, on this day in 2020, Russian President Vladimir Putin wins national referendum, allowing longer presidential terms of office. He's set to serve as Russian president until the year 2036. And well, we got Russia in the geopolitical news. They're suffering some fuel shortages there now due to heavy Ukrainian attacks on their petroleum infrastructure. We'll get to that in the geopolitical section of the show. And then finally, on this day, just a year ago, in 2025, we saw the largest healthcare fraud initiative in U.S. history, but they're not looking in the mirror about Operation Warp Speed, so it kind of falls on deaf ears here. But the official story says U.S. Justice Department announces it has halted healthcare fraud schemes worth $14.6 billion, charging 324 defendants, including 93 doctors and other medical professionals. Trust the science, trust your doctor. Bunch of conspiracy theorists there at the Justice Department, obviously not trusting the science. And then here's our segue, some good news until we get all into all the treacherous news of the day. maybe some good news. I don't know what they're doing. Looks like some type of, but overall a good message, I do believe. Looks like some type of publicity stunt. Two masked people climbed up on top of the Empire State Building there in New York City and unveiled a banner reading, when the power of love beats the love of power, the world knows peace. Let's take a look at that, a video of that daring climb. I believe it was also a marriage proposal as well. Yeah, crazy. It was a marriage proposal as well there. Okay, here's MTG on Piers Morgan saying that Trump's a traitor, essentially. I don't know what's up with that. Funky format here. I think I noticed this. Apologies there. And a funky format going on. I think I need to screen share here. Apologies for the hiccup. Here we go.
Actually, you know what? In my everyday life, him calling me a traitor has had zero effect, because everyone knows the definition of a traitor. A traitor is someone that is working on behalf of a foreign country. And I would argue that's what Donald Trump has been doing with this war in Iran. He's been working on behalf of Israel, not America. This war has not helped Americans one single bit. As a matter of fact, it's cost Americans tens of billions of dollars, not only to their pocketbook, what they've had to pay at the gas pump and inflation, but also what it's costing them in the budget. Because here goes Congress having to spend hundreds of billions more because of his bombing campaign. So traitors work for foreign countries and not for the United States of America. Actually, Piers, I would say standing up to Donald Trump has been one of the best things I could do, because I stood on the principle of defending victims of rape and pedophilia.
Trump's a con man. We're going to lay out a bunch of it here today for you. Straight up traitor, Mike Huckabee, ambassador to Aardvark land. He literally hangs out with Jonathan Pollard, a convicted spy for Aardvark land. Like, dude. This guy should literally be shamed out of America. He should be charged with treason. Seriously.
I celebrate the heritage that as an American I have, thanks to the Jewish foundation upon which the United States of America was born and which it has thrived. And I tell you that if the United States ever forgets its heritage and forgets the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we will not be the great nation that we have become, and we will fall. And it's why that when I hear people say, is it possible that America and Israel will split apart and will no longer enjoy this extraordinary partnership? And I say, no. You got to understand, we're not that stupid. I hope we're never going to be that stupid. The truth is, it's like an incredible marriage between Israel and the United States. And when people ask, are we going to break up? I say, not a chance. Because neither country can afford the alimony if we ever broke up. And that's why we will be partners for as long as there is. Thank you. God bless you. God bless America. And God bless the state of Israel.
We'll come back to more of Huckabee later in the show. They rolled out AI Teddy Roosevelt. And let's take a look at this bizarre dystopian scene with Trump interacting with AI Teddy Roosevelt at Teddy Roosevelt Library in North Dakota. Trump went there earlier today to spew a bunch of propaganda and lies.
Every day a president faces storms most people never see. Keep your nerve and remember the nation comes first. You get through. I know you know that feeling yourself.
Well, I appreciate those words. Those words are fantastic. And I just want to say it's an honor to be with you today. We are making a little bit of a tour. Some of the fantastic things you've done.
Every day a
Extremely bizarre, dystopian. Here's a little bit more. Trump asks AI President Teddy Roosevelt, do you consider the Panama Canal your greatest achievement?
Do you consider the Panama Canal your greatest achievement?
Well. Right then, yes.
Good answer.
The canal stands as one of my proudest battles, no question. But greatness is a strange thing. It isn't always the biggest or boldest job that matters most. The Panama Canal showed what America could achieve if we held steady and acted fast when the world dragged its feet. That said, I measure my greatest work by the lives improved. Parks set aside, food and drugs made safe, the square deal given to all, not just to a few. Still, when I stood in the mud watching those steam shovels, knowing ships would pass through, changing the world's map forever, I felt I'd left a mark that would last.
Okay, you did. Thank you.
Normalizing AI dystopia. Trump explains he is profiting from the presidency because everybody is profiting. Bro, we can't afford groceries out here because of your corruption.
But critics say you're profiting off the president.
Well, you know why I'm profiting? Because the stock market's going up. Everybody's profiting. If you have a 401k, how's your 401k done? It's about up 85%. Thank you, President Trump. So we're all profiting. I'm profiting because I have a lot of money and a lot of cash, and I give it to institutions. I don't know if they know what they're doing or not, but they buy a vast array of things.
President Trump, you had a meeting with
He admits he's profiting. Here's U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds doing a flyover. Who knows how much this costs? At the Hoover Dam. Inflation's out of control. And this is your government detached from Main Street. There's Trump on the Freedom Train arriving in North Dakota earlier today.
Yeah! Can you see that? Yeah, USA!
Seriously? Again, standing room only there on the National Mall for the Great American State Fair.
It's amazing. We absolutely love it.
I was anticipating less crowds, but here when we're enjoying it, there's lots of crowds, lots of people enjoying all the states.
There's really a lot of good booths here, so every state has got something to offer somebody, and there's so much to do that you can't even do it in one day. So it's a multi-day event if you want to see everything.
Afterwards, I'm going to talk about it when I get back into school, say it was my favorite things over summer, and just proud of
Newsmax, Fox News. The place is empty. It's standing room only. It's just, man. In America, we believe in the majesty of freedom and the dignity of the individual. White House propaganda meme of the day there. They keep running the Iran nuclear psyop here. Here's Trump again earlier today.
As far as things are going, the denuclearization of Iran is moving along well. They've had very good meetings, and we'll see. We hit them very hard for 3 nights, as you know, but we're getting along very well. So I call it the denuclearization, and it's all taking place. It's all going well. The stock market is setting records virtually every day.
How can you be so full of shit? Oh yeah, we just bombed them. Everything's going well. It's so stale, so tired. Here's Vance on Iran. It's just lying out of both sides of his mouth, his rear end every single day. It's just so tired at this point.
Briefing room a couple weeks back, you mentioned there are well-known factions within the Iranian government that you're not struggling, I should say, but that you kind of have to negotiate with both. Can you give us a little more color on what those factions look like? Who is helpful in being productive in those talks and who is not?
Look, I think in the Iranian system, like a lot of places, you've got people who actually recognize the last 47 years of their government has been a mistake and that they need to change their relationship with the United States, with Europe, with the Gulf Arab countries. And then you've got a few people who are still kind of attached to the old ways. We think we see a lot of momentum for the people who are trying to turn over a new leaf. We're obviously going to that's why we're going to give the negotiations as much of a chance to succeed as possible. But of course, as I said to somebody earlier, if they try to rebuild that nuclear program, if they refuse to let inspections in, if they resume shooting at commercial vessels, which they have stopped for a few days, then obviously the president still has a lot of options on the table. We'll do
Iran Foreign Minister Argachai said the terms of the Islamabad MOU are crystal clear and public for all to see. POTUS has committed the U.S. to muzzling its pets in Tel Aviv. If they ignore their master, Iran will school them. Any threat against our people and leadership will receive immediate, powerful response. Posted this. Asked about Iran's supreme leader, Khomeini, Kat said he was marked for death. He described the Iranians as good merchants trying to extract concessions in negotiations and said Aardvarkland would not allow Iran to produce nuclear weapons. If they do it through an agreement, all the better, he said. And that was his reply. Told Katz, threatened to whack Khomeini again. The current Khomeini in charge there. U.S. helicopter goes down in Arabian Sea. Crew member missing. Report out of ZBS News. 3 members of a 4-person MH-60S Seahawk helicopter crew were rescued at sea after emergency water landing in the Arabian Sea early this morning. U.S. Naval Forces Central Command said. Here's one of these helicopters, the MH-60R Seahawk. They're pretty badass helicopters. Well, one of ours went down there. Let's see. 3 of the 4 crew members have been rescued in stable condition. A search is underway for the 4th. The 5th Fleet said there is no indication the emergency was caused by a hostile action and that the cause of the crash is under investigation. It is the 2nd U.S. helicopter crash in the region in recent weeks. An Army AH-64 Apache went down in the Gulf of Oman on June 9th. President Trump said Iranian forces shot it down, and the crew was rescued by a Corsair drone boat. The House of Representatives rejected a Democrat war powers resolution that would have required Trump to remove U.S. troops from hostilities in Lebanon. The measure, introduced by Tlaib, failed with 22 Democrats opposing it and 2 Republicans supporting it. House Democratic leaders argued there are currently no troops engaged in combat in Lebanon, making the resolution unnecessary. But they're there. They're just not actively engaged in combat right now. I mean, we keep playing these stupid games. We're going to win stupid prizes. We're going to have dead U.S. troops. We're going to be involved in combat. And we know the whole friggin' routine. We're like getting this close. Paper thin. Having U.S. troops engaged in combat in Lebanon for God. I guess we got to, it's our responsibility to get the Hezbollah now. You know what I mean? It's just, it never ends. It literally never ends. Trump has reviewed military plans for renewed large-scale strikes on Iran, but is choosing to continue nuclear negotiations for now, according to U.S. officials. He believes restarting the war could derail diplomacy, you think, and is willing to let talks continue beyond August 18th target date, while the Pentagon has presented options for renewed attacks. Trump has so far favored limited retaliatory strikes over a broader military campaign, viewing a negotiated agreement as preferable to another full-scale conflict. That's a report out of the Wall Street Journal. Here's Vance lying to our troops.
And that is what the president will never ask you to do. He'll ask you to go to war, yes, but when he asks you to go to war, he'll tell you exactly what you're going for, and I think that is what...
Why did we go to war with Iran? Trump said it's because of their nuke program. They're going to nuke us in 2 weeks, bro. That's been debunked by the State Department and our own intelligence community. So lie more to our troops there, Vance. Mr. Vice President Technocracy is just... It's disgusting. Truly, truly disgusting. U.S. refusal to guarantee aardvark land withdrawal from Lebanon paralyzes Iran negotiations. Who could have seen that coming? I don't know. Iran, that kept saying it over and over, and it's self-evident. It's self-evident. Indirect, multi-layered diplomatic talks in Doha aimed at stabilizing the fragile U.S.-Iran Memorandum of Understanding have hit a critical impasse over Washington's regional military alignments, while technical working groups mediated by Qatar and Pakistan navigate the nuclear file and the liberation of over $150 billion in frozen Iranian assets. The broader regional geopolitical equation remains unsolved. Tehran has explicitly conditioned any strategic breakthrough on Washington strictly honoring the signed MOU, refusing to engage in direct high-level talks with the American delegation while U.S. violations persist. According to Al Jazeera, the primary sticking point paralyzing progress in the ongoing U.S.-backed occupation of southern Lebanon, with Tehran demanding a verifiable Aardvark land military withdrawal as a prerequisite for long-term regional stability. To pressure mediators, Washington has dispatched senior envoys Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff to Doha, attempting to decouple maritime security in the Strait of Hormuz from the broader fronts of the axis of resistance. However, the Iranian leadership has firmly rejected these U.S. maneuvers, insisting that regional security cannot be partitioned, while Aardvark land continues its aggression under a U.S. security umbrella, with $6 billion in unlocked funds currently restricted in Qatari accounts and vast sovereign wealth arbitrarily blocked across 7 nations. Tehran is treating the Doha talks strictly as a technical mechanism to dismantle Western economic warfare. Iranian officials maintain that they will offer concessions on maritime transit or regional deterrence, while the U.S. and its regional proxies flout basic sovereignty frameworks. Wow. That was a report out of the Cradle. Aardvark land says no withdrawal from security zones in Lebanon, Syria, and Gaza. According to Aardvark land media, Shadow President of America, Bibi, today stated that Aardvark land will not accept a reality in which an armed organization can build tunnels that can infiltrate our borders. Bibi added that Aardvark land will remain in the security belt in southern Lebanon as long as necessary, arguing that recent wars have reshaped regional security dynamics. He went on to say the Gaza envelope has now become part of the Gaza Strip, and the Lebanon envelope has now become part of Lebanon, describing this as a very important lesson. Bibi also highlighted what he described as a diplomatic development, noting that for the first time in years, representatives of Aardvark land have conducted negotiations with Lebanon. Continuing, he said, "We do everything in our power to also reach a peace agreement between the two countries." War Minister Katz confirmed that the Aardvark land army will not withdraw from security zones in southern Lebanon, Syria, and the Gaza Strip, and that it will continue operating there without setting a time limit. He said the October 7th demonstrated that we cannot wait for the threat to reach our doorsteps, emphasizing a doctrine of preemptive security action. Katz claimed that Aardvark land has carried out 2 preemptive strikes against Iran, adding that if necessary, we will attack them for a 3rd time as well. This is concerning right here, part of the technocracy takeover, part of building out Skynet. Pentagon places artificial intelligence tycoon on its top war policy board with 0 conflict of interest rules in place. Silicon Valley billionaire Mark Andreessen has secured a seat on the U.S. Defense Policy Board, a move that embeds aggressive venture capital directly into the heart of the Pentagon's war planning apparatus. Appointed by U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, the co-founder of Andreessen Horowitz, will now advise on strategic planning and procurement priorities. The appointment has raised immediate red flags as the Pentagon has refused to publish any financial disclosure rules or conflict of interest guidelines for the newly formed board. It's just next level, all-seeing eye, freaking just unlimited corruption. What are you, damn commie? You know what I mean? It's just damn, man. Damn. Continuing here, the placement of Treason into Washington's inner circle directly serves as massive financial interest in military technology and artificial intelligence. His firm holds significant stakes in defense-adjacent corporations like Anduril, Shield AI, and Applied Intuition, all of which aggressively lobby for lucrative federal defense contracts. By gaining proximity to the Undersecretary of Policy, the tech tycoon is positioned to shape Washington's global militarization agenda and direct billions in state spending toward his own portfolio. And he looks like a freaking conehead, right? Saturday Night Live. But besides his personal appearance, Andreessen has consistently dismissed warnings of a speculative AI bubble, actively using his influence to counter cautious institutional consensus and promote the myth of an unstoppable tech-driven hegemony. Alongside his defense holdings, his firm manages expense investments in AI healthcare and biotechnology, which align closely with the Pentagon's long-term modernization plans. While the board technically lacks formal procurement authority, Andreessen's unvetted access gives his firm unparalleled sway over the strategic choices that direct the flow of U.S. military spending. What a freaking nightmare these corrupt bastards are creating for us. If it wasn't bad enough, it gets worse every freaking day, it seems here now. Qatar says U.S. and Iran concluded indirect talks in Doha. Qatar said the meetings wrapped up today, and the talks were mostly about the United States violating the terms, the MOU, that were violating the terms of the terms to even sit down to talk, essentially. Yeah. So we had a meeting with mediators about the fact that we're breaking the terms of the agreement to even talk, is where we're at in Iran peace talks. Last day of paper is announced, and they're turning the screws on us. There will be no return. And by the way, this year, the IRS, for the first time, stopped issuing paper refund checks. For those not aware, for those not getting a refund. Anyhow, and they made you do, they made everyone getting a federal income tax refund biometrically scan their face into the IRS database to confirm your identity. So no more paper checks, and no, they're turning the screws at every level, i.e. technocracy, i.e. the greater North America. It was announced today by the U.S. Office of Personnel Management. Well, I'll read you the report. Yesterday marks the last day. They posted this today, but they say in this post, yesterday marks the last day of paper retirement processing in the federal government. We're turning the page on decades old process and embracing a fully digital future for federal retirement services. What could go wrong? There's con men, criminals running, AI tech bros running around everywhere. What could possibly go wrong? By modernizing how retirement applications are processed, we're delivering faster, more secure, and more efficient service for the federal workforce. Good luck with that, bro. They're gonna steal everything these guys got. And sad to report, you worked for the government. You got it coming at this point. You propped up this whole corrupt piece of shit system. I have no sympathy for you at this point. But yeah, they're going to steal everything you got, your pension and everything else you got, and everybody's everything, because tech bros rule, man. The Trump administration has proposed removing requirements from public water utilities to test for microplastics in drinking water. Trump administration has approved the use of cancer-linked pesticides, diflufenican and epiyurfenical, both forever chemicals, PFAS, forever chemicals. Neither pesticide has ever been used in the United States before. Who cares? Maha, MAGA, it's wonderful. We reported on this at the time, but let's watch this. The Supreme Court let Bayer off the hook for pollution. IG Farben, Bayer, Monsanto. Let's watch this report about it.
Do you guys remember this?
And right now, the U.S. Supreme Court is considering a decision that could strip away one of our most basic rights, the right to be warned and the right to seek justice when we are harmed.
Well, the Supreme Court just made its decision. It ruled 7-2 in favor of Bayer, the company that owns Roundup, which has been linked to cancer and driven thousands of lawsuits against the company. With this ruling, Bayer now can't be sued over state-level claims that it failed to warn people about the potential cancer risks of its product. The court said that if the EPA or a federal agency has already approved a pesticides warning label, then manufacturers can be shielded from accountability even when people are harmed. In other words, federal approval wins. This is incredibly bad news for the thousands of people who have been harmed by Roundup and tried to sue the company, and everyone who could be harmed in the future. But this case matters beyond Bayer and one weed killer in itself. It's about the relationship between regulators and corporations. If a federal agency signs off a warning label, that approval may now shield companies from thousands of state lawsuits claiming consumers should have received additional warnings. This case potentially affects how other pesticide manufacturers defend similar cases in the future. Now, here's the part that I don't think enough people are talking about. For decades, we've been told if something goes wrong, you can sue. But this decision asks a different question. What happens when the government's approval itself becomes the company's defense? Because now the fight isn't just against a corporation anymore. It's about whether you can challenge the government's judgment in the first place. If you believe agencies like the EPA are the experts, this ruling creates one national standard instead of 50 different ones. But if you think regulators can get it wrong or can be influenced by politics, lobbying, from the industry, or outdated science, then this decision makes it much harder for ordinary people to use state courts to force companies to answer that. Earlier this year, the Trump administration invoked the Defense Production Act to increase domestic production of glyphosate, calling it a matter of national security. The administration also backed Bayer's legal argument that federal pesticide approvals should override state failure to warn lawsuits. So when you put those two things together, it shows us that this administration is heavily pushing glyphosate production. That's why this case is bigger than Bayer. It's really a case about who gets the final word on risk in America.
This gives liability protection to all these companies, big pharma, big chemical. And so they'll literally laugh in your face. Yeah, we poisoned you to death. You have cancer. You're dying. Ha ha. We have liability protection. The government knows best. Here in California, we're just hit us with an earthquake already, God. Take a listen to this report. Despite a push to stop it, registered sex offenders and people convicted of sex crimes against children will still be able to run for and hold public office in California.
Democrats here at the state capitol are divided over whether people convicted of sex crimes should be allowed to run for public office. But with today's action, people who are registered sex offenders or people who have been convicted of serious child sex crimes can still run for city council, school board, or the state legislature here in California. So the bill killed today, AB 2753, would block anyone that has been registered as a sex offender from running for office. California has a 3-tiered sex offender registration system. Tier 1 is up to 10 years on the list. Tier 2 is 20 years, and Tier 3 is for life. The chairman of the Senate Elections Committee, Democratic State Senator Scott Wiener, was worried about casting a wide net and would only pass this bill if it only applied to sex offenders in Tier 3. The lawmaker who wrote this bill, Assemblymember Esmeralda Soria, refused to take that amendment, and the bill died in essentially a tie vote. Here's what Soria had to say after.
Extremely disappointed, and I feel like I'm still trying to process what we just saw come out of Senate Elections Committee. But I think the fight still continues. I made a promise to my community that we would try to make sure that what happened earlier in this year when
all this came out about a registered sex offender was trying to run for city council here in Fresno, California, and they're trying to bring about this state. And of course, Scott Wiener foiled that plan. These people are just beyond the pale, man. And old Soria there, that congresswoman, she don't give a damn. She's corrupt as the day is long, let me tell you. Shocking here from the House Oversight Committee. 0 Democrats showed up for a discussion today on unaccompanied alien children. Witnesses described to Representative Eli Crane how cartels would create Sears-like booklets of children for trafficking. Let's watch some of this testimony to the House Oversight Committee. With surprisingly enough, no Democrats in attendance, they tell us.
There's not one single Democrat here today. It just goes to show that they only really care about these kids when it fits their agenda. Dr. Saldusky, you are a trained criminologist, is that correct?
Correct.
How long have you been studying criminals, victims in our criminal justice system?
Over 26 years.
You said in your opening statement that you were able to interview a member of the Sinaloa cartel. I believe you said his name was Mr. Flores. Is that correct?
Correct.
Where did you interview Mr. Flores, Doctor?
So, Mr. Flores, I discovered him whenever I was researching his testimony. He's testified before Congress. He's also was a key witness in the leadership of the Sinaloa cartel. That's where the interviews, that's why I initiated the interviews with him, which was over the phone.
Was he in prison?
No.
No, okay. What was his affiliation with the cartels?
He was in charge of distribution of illicit narcotics in the United States.
Okay. You said that he told you about a booklet that the cartel had that listed these kids almost like a Sears catalog with price tags for purchase. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Did he say how many kids were in these booklets?
He said many, but he did not provide a number.
Did you say in your opening statement that their prices were higher if they were virgins or of a younger age?
That is correct.
You think that maybe some of the testimony like that is why there's no Democrats in this room today?
Absolutely.
Again, trying to make it a left-right Democrat-Republican issue. It's the entire government part of this. Reports coming out of Venezuela, NGOs, Clinton Foundation, others, gangs as well. Bunch of different groups looking to kidnap children and put them into trafficking after the earthquake in Venezuela, as they, as all these different predatory groups try to take advantage of a disaster and separation of children from their families. Quite horrific there, but Sears-like booklets of children for trafficking. And we're seeing on these different websites selling furniture, selling toys, different items, but disguised as these items, but they're actually children for sale, because a particle board cabinet doesn't cost $15,000, and one of these plushy toys doesn't cost $12,000 or whatever they're going for on these different websites, posing as selling goods when they're actually trafficking children. It keeps coming up over and over and over again. I do believe it's a real thing. Continuing here, Trump snubs Lauren Boebert ahead of Colorado primary. So, big MAGA woman there, Lauren Boebert, Congresswoman out of Colorado. And so she was one of the 4 Republicans that voted to release the Epstein files, or voted for the Epstein Files Transparency Act. MTG, Massey, her, and Nancy Grace. Lauren Boebert and Nancy Grace, all 4 out. No endorsement from Trump. So once again, you have to be loyal to this criminal to a fault, but he will show no loyalty to you whatsoever, MAGA. Epstein's lover, Karen Schoenlack, secretly ran a registered dentistry firm inside Zorro Ranch. Little known dental footprint in New Mexico was placed in Zorro Ranch. According to public records and exclusive reporting reviewed by the Santa Fe New Mexican, the newspaper reported that Zorro Smiles, a dentistry company tied to Schloak, was registered at the Stanley, New Mexico ranch that long served as Epstein's isolated high desert compound. The finding matters because the property has already appeared in criminal testimony, state land records, and renewed law enforcement statements concerning Epstein's alleged abuse network. I believe they were using that dentist company to get the drugs. And we saw the dentist chair with all the masks. He had a dentist chair there in his New York estate as well. Now we're learning a little bit more about the Zorro Ranch dentistry operation. I believe that was part of a fear-based, trauma-based, MK Ultra style mind control and dark occultist rituals. So they go through the details in this report. Yeah, they're running a dentistry company out of Zorro Ranch here. At least it was, yeah, they go through all the details here. Let's see. DDS as a general practice dentist. And they go through in here and they checked all the boxes, right? So they're literally running a dentistry office out of Zorro Ranch here now. Very low key. I'll link to this at Weaponized News Substack channel. Former beauty queen alleges Epstein recruited women through Trump pageants. All the pieces are starting to come together here now. Trump, via his mentor in New York, Roy Cohen, they've been running this trafficking racket the entire time. Trump's part of the Epstein trafficking racket, and it's bigger than Epstein even. A former beauty queen who alleged Donald Trump sexually assaulted her has claimed in an interview with Punch Up that vulnerable women at his 1990s pageants were funneled toward Jeffrey Epstein's trafficking network. Bernice Kuhl, 55 years old, a former Miss Switzerland and Miss Europe contestant, has spoken out in an exclusive tell-all. Kuhl claims she watched fellow contestants at a 1993 Donald Trump American Dream pageant get picked out, pressured, and moved onto private gatherings with men they barely knew by Epstein and other predators working in the modeling industry. Here she is with Trump. She described the pageant as a playground, quote, a playground of Epstein and the other men involved. She said they knew exactly what they wanted. I was fresh meat. Kuhl, who was a 23-year-old banking executive at the time and a former runner-up in 1992 Miss Switzerland competition, says the contest felt nothing like a pageant, nothing like the pageant world she knew. Instead of the usual routines and clear rules, she described a murky environment in which powerful men hovered around contestants, sizing them up in hotel lobbies and private suites. Nothing creepy about that at all, right? It's just a regular beauty pageant. Epstein, Kuhl said, tried to recruit young women by promising to arrange flights and hotel accommodations for parties at Mar-a-Lago, telling her she had the caliber for this league. Inside Epstein's attempts to recruit women from Penn, a big old article about that. But yeah, he was sending out, trying to constantly recruiting new recruits for his whole trafficking operation. An Austrian woman here now is claiming she was sent out as a student to University of Pennsylvania to recruit more victims for Epstein. And then a word here now from Emma Catherine again. She's the podcaster that has interviewed many MK Ultra victims and SRA victims. She says, attention world, who wants to be part of a grassroots MK Ultra task force committee? It's clear the government is going to be of no help in bringing acknowledgement, accountability, and or any type of justice to MK Ultra survivors and victims. We need to do this ourselves if we ever want to get it done. I'm effing tired of the BS and know the impact the incredible survivors, advocates, and specialists who work with survivors can have. And after interviewing hundreds and hundreds of survivors and meeting thousands more, I know we can make a dent in this beast of a problem that has carried on for far too many decades and generations. The government is just going to continue playing psyops and charades with the public and survivor community. They think we will continue to sit back, watch, and do nothing like the previous generations have. But I am here to say that it stops with us. They do not get to have the final word. We can come together and get this shit done once and for all. Who's with me? We need survivors willing to testify, individuals with time and energy willing to help, individuals willing to help donate financially, to helping create a grassroots task force and people with connections to good people in places of authority who have courage and would be willing to support us. If you would like to be part of this, please respond below in the comment and I will reach out to you. You can also DM me on this app if you'd rather not make a public comment, or you can email and I'll post a link to that. Anybody interested in her starting this grassroots campaign that she's proposing, or just go to her X account, Emma Catherine, and I'll post on Weaponized News Substack as well. All right, we're past the hour mark. Give me that like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. Everybody go to weaponizednews.com. We're out of Pride Month, so no more rainbow. It's just the holograph sticker. Now, again, go to weaponizednews.com/shop. The link's in the description below this video. We have the holograph sticker there. We made it through Pride Month. We got the white background sticker and the clear background sticker there. We have coffee mugs, T-shirts, ball caps, shot glasses, as this show's known to induce heavy bouts of drinking. We got some books over there. Go take a look at weaponizednews.com/shop. Links in the description below this video. We take donations as well. Buy me a coffee, Bitcoin wallet address, Cash App links all in the description below this video. Become a paid subscriber at Weaponized News Substack. We're streaming live on Substack right now. You'll get summary of the show, links to almost everything we talk about. Weaponized News Substack. Help support independent reporting and analysis, brought to you 5 days a week, broadcasting live, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern time. Weaponized News Substack. Become a paid subscriber. We give away everything free. All the videos free. Nothing beyond a paywall ever here at Weaponized News. Show your support for all of our hard work by becoming a paid subscriber at Weaponized News Substack. Give us a donation or patron the store. Any which way you choose to support us is truly appreciated. Thank you very much. Those out there in the audience, you know who you are. I do truly appreciate your support. Give me that like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. All of that is free. All right, welcome back to the second half of Weaponized News on this Wednesday, July 1st, 2026 edition. Thank you for joining us. More fraud out of NASA here now as we're moving into the economic section. NASA barrels ahead with moon-based plans, doling out nearly $600 million in new contracts. The fraud never ends. It's just the never-ending story of lies, propaganda, corruption, and fraud from this government. The announcement is the latest in a stream of funding contracts NASA has awarded private companies in its efforts to establish a permanent presence on the moon. What a load of shit. So here's your $600 million just down a black hole of fraud. Amazing. Pay your taxes, bro. Here's a more disconnected Trump here now bragging about extorting intel, essentially. So the government is an organized crime syndicate running racketeering operations, extortion.
And then I got as a gift, another gift, I said to Intel, give the United States of, they needed something, they needed some help, the chip maker. I said, give the United States of America, I'll do it for you, but give the United States of America 10% of your company. He said, you have a deal. He said it so fast, I said I should have asked for more. But he said, you have a deal. And that stake is now worth $80 billion. I made $80 billion for the country in 8 months. Does anybody talk about it? No. Have a good time. Have a good flight. Enjoy the plane.
It's called racketeering. And he's flying around on the new Qatari jet. And then they say, if you call out any of this corruption, you work for Qatar. So imagine that. We can't afford groceries. Don't worry. Don't worry, because they have synthetic Gila monster venom for you. Ozempic. You can't afford to eat? They got an answer for you out of the federal government.
Happening now, a major change for Medicare. Starting today, it covers drugs for weight loss for some people. By law, Medicare has been banned from covering medications for obesity, but some enrollees will be able to get GLP-1 drugs for weight loss through this pilot program, although not everyone will be eligible.
Some people will still starve. You won't even get your fix of Ozempic. Here's Dr. Oz, who invited old Epstein to a Valentine's Day party. Side note, the Trump administration is delivering big news in Medicare through the Medicare GLP-1 bridge. Eligible beneficiaries can access certain GLP-1 medications for weight management for just a $50 monthly copay. So you can't afford groceries? Get your $50 Ozempic there from TrumpRx.gov.
If you have Medicare Part D and have been trying to access affordable GLP-1 medications to help you lose weight, I've got some great news for you. Medicare GLP-1 Bridge is here. Starting July 1st, Medicare is offering coverage for certain GLP-1 medicines for $50 monthly copayment. If, 3 criteria, you have Medicare Part D coverage, you aren't already getting GLP-1s covered by your Medicare plan because you're being treated for something like type 2 diabetes or obstructive sleep apnea or fatty liver disease, and you meet additional clinical requirements. Now, this opens access to GLP-1 medications to lots more people with Medicare to help you lose weight as part of a healthy lifestyle. And you're going to pay a much lower cost than you typically find in other places.
They're selling the synthetic Gila Monster venom through TrumpRx.gov. And I guess if you can't afford groceries, you're screwed. You got to already be on Medicare there. Virginia has 37 data centers which use immense amounts of electricity, but at the end of June, as a heat wave approached, or no, this is actually one county, Henrico County there in Virginia has 37 data centers. Wow. But at the end of June, as a heat wave approached, the county asked schools and government workers to cut back on electricity use. County employees were asked to do things like turn off lights and adjust blinds, while data center companies that receive massive tax breaks have not been asked to conserve electricity at all, as it should be. Here's some crazy fraud coming out of Arizona. Now, Arizona has a huge school voucher program, and the money is being spent in shocking ways. Let's watch a little bit of this report.
We've heard some powerful people repeat 3 words a lot over the past year.
When you look at some of the waste, fraud, and abuse.
Waste, fraud, and abuse. Republicans have been working to root out waste, fraud, and abuse.
Waste, fraud, and abuse. Now let me add a few more words. Lego Tower, Yeti Cooler, Sony PlayStation 5, Diamond Ring, Baby Doll One Piece, and condoms.
A Ninja air fryer. SeaWorld, Disney World.
Taxpayer money bought all of this with funds meant for education.
If you're going to Disneyland and calling it social studies, I have a problem with that.
The problem is called school vouchers. They've created a whole new market for actual waste, fraud, and abuse.
It has ballooned into a $1 billion boondoggle that is rife with misspending and fraud.
Thousands of parents spent money on things the education department said were not allowed, and the price tag, over $10 million.
Lawmakers know what's going on, but they're often not doing anything to stop it, and it's throwing the future of education into disarray.
School vouchers have been an absolute calamity.
There's no accountability, no transparency.
The White House tells us 100 days of winning. The golden age of America is here. 100 days of winning. The anti-fraud task force highlights so far. And if we add it all up, it's like a week. I haven't done all the math, but it's like a week of interest, not even a week of interest. And they put out all this pixelated stuff. It's not even a week of interest on the national debt, all the fraud they're uncovering, when the entire system in and of itself is a fraud. It says we're sealing the deal tomorrow. And they put out this meme of the White House task force to eliminate fraud, top secret there. So we'll see what they have to reveal. Trump's agriculture secretary admits Iran war hurt farmers. And they keep saying that they're going to force Iran to use their own money, right, that we stole when it's given back to them to buy U.S. GMO crops. Iran says no. They won't be buying U.S. GMO crops.
However, fully recognizing that fertilizer is still way too high, and at a time where our row croppers, especially our ag community, our ag economy is struggling under high cost of inputs, the effect of the Iranian conflict bears repeating.
What? I thought we won the war. Everything is wonderful. No, it is part of engineered famine by design. And the third and fourth world, forget about it. Forget about it. Millions will starve to death because of this. Trump disclosed earnings more than $1 billion from crypto ventures in 2025, including $635 million from Trump meme coin licensing and over $500 million from World Liberty financial token sales. He ran giant meme coin crypto pump and dump scams on his idiot MAGA supporters. There should be giant outrage. They still love it, I guess. There's no amount of abuse. I guess they're sadomasochists at this point that enjoy the abuse. I don't particularly like the never-ending abuse coming out of this government, whether it be Trump administration, Biden administration, pick whatever clown they put up there. They're all corrupt. Trump's trying to one-up the last one, and I'm sure the next will one-up them. And so Trump is now competing with Bibi to be the most corrupt man in the world. The day before Trump paused tariffs, triggering a historic 10% market rally, his accounts purchased 327 stocks worth up to $12.8 million. The trades were disclosed more than a year late, resulting in a $200 penalty. Unusual indeed. On September 23rd, 2025, Trump purchased up to $1 million of Amazon stock. On September 25th, 2 days later, 2025, Trump's Federal Trade Commission settled a major probe into Amazon over alleged deceptive prime enrollment practices. They're literally pay to play. We're going to see more of this. You got a big lawsuit, you got some kind of dispute, just pay off Trump, and it's all going to go away. On July 23rd, 2025, Trump purchased up to $5 million of Broadcom, Meta, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, and NVIDIA. Later that day, the Trump administration unveiled its AI action plan, a policy that directly benefited those companies. Dude, It's like writ large corruption in your face, using government freaking force to benefit Trump's financial portfolio and whoever has enough money to pay him off. Trump's newest newest financial disclosures show some unusual trades. Trump purchased up to $5 million in Axon stock in February. Weeks later, ICE sought a $22 million deal with Axon. We covered that. I believe it was tasers and other equipment they bought from Axon company here now. What a sweetheart deal. Who would have known they would have got this big $220 million federal contract? I don't know. Trump's just a genius investor. Trump's DOJ dropped criminal probe into Abbott over baby formula plant issue yesterday. A baby died due to contamination of their baby formula. 2 months prior to this, Trump purchased up to $500,000 of Abbott stock. Trump has said that he does not manage his funds. I don't think he does manage them, but his financial management team is hooked in to all of these insider dealings. Here's a breakdown from the Leia files. She did a deep dive. Let's watch a little bit of this. She says America's birthday is only one of many schemes Trump is using to funnel money. Ballroom, reflecting pool, birthday day party, same playbook, just different charities. And hell, go to America 250. I keep telling you, that's your corporate fascist government with freaking JP Morgan, Palantir, Lockheed Martin. Go there and look. I mean, it's literally in our face. America 250, USA. Yeah, you're an idiot. They're laughing at you. Damn, man. Someday America will wake up to this. Probably not, though. Probably not. Let's go to this report.
Party is looking a lot like a money laundering scheme, and I think that this is the structure that Trump is using in multiple places to get our tax dollars over to the ballroom without any of us knowing. So let's follow the money. I didn't start off this investigation looking into America's 250 because I actually couldn't have fathomed that this is what was going on. I was doing a deep dive investigation into Brad Parscale, Trump's former campaign manager, CEO of Clock Tower X, among a lot of other LLCs.
Let me just pause there. Brad Parscale is a straight up traitor to this country, working for Aardvark Land, propagandizing the American people through his media company, Salem Media, that he works with.
Some of them, like Nucleus, led me to America's 250th because Brad Parscale's company, Nucleus, is collecting data on Americans who registered for the World Cup viewing party on the lawn, who register for all of these events for the 250th, and then they're using it to sell you all kinds of blue and white country propaganda, but I'll get to that. That's what led me to this, because there were so many people saying that Brad Parscale didn't touch the White House, but I found a $66,000 contract for Nucleus, which Brad Parscale owns, linked to this Freedom 250. And then when I pulled that thread, I was like, oh my God. This entire deep dive will be on my Substack today with sources, proof, everything. You can go over there and click away till your heart's content. Let's start with a charity, because this is the structure with how Trump is funneling this money, I think. National Parks Foundation. It's a small little charity, think park benches and signs and Save the Buffalo. And over the past 16 years, they have received a total of $8 million in federal grants. Well, in fiscal year 2026, they got $80 million in federal grants. And suddenly, a sleepy little park charity is moving money like a fire hose. This is always a red flag for an auditor or a fraud examiner. So the question was simple. I was like, what happened? I really need to stop asking questions. Well, here's what happened. Trump started his own birthday group, as one would actually expect from him. It's called Freedom 250. But instead of running it out in the open, where a government office has rules about how to spend our tax dollars, he hid it inside of a shell company that he started in October 2025 called Freedom 250. And that shell company is then hidden within a charity. Why a charity, you ask? Well, the charity is the wrapper, and it's what I have found he uses to hide a lot of our money. Think of it as like a P.O. box for money. The money goes in through the charity, but you can never see where it goes out. It collects our tax dollars through these federal grants. It collects foreign money. It collects corporate money, and no one can tell who it came from. Only the federal grant money. The rest of it? Don't know. The public isn't allowed to see it. And that's by design, for people trying to hide money. This is a behavioral characteristic of what you look for when people are trying to commit fraud. But that is the reason that you choose a charity, because you can hide the money. So I want to look at just one example. Again, you can go on my Substack and check out all of this deep dive. $10 million. This $10 million was obligated for libraries and museums to use. It's library money. But it got quietly moved to Trump's birthday party shell. And it's building what he's calling freedom trucks run by PragerU. PragerU is like a line to a TPUSA. They're education, but really they're just blue and white country propaganda.
They're aardvark traders is what they are.
That's what their nonprofit does. And the CEO is former blue and white country IDF 8200, which is the surveillance side, our NSA equivalent. They create all of the surveillance spy tools that are currently being used on us and within our government. Every federal grant has a form with questions, and one of the questions is, hey, you get this grant money that we give you, taxpayer dollars, where does it go? What are you spending it on? What are you doing with it? But for this $10 million, they answered zero.
The IDF's running PragerU. Oh man. Meta spent nearly $50,000 a year per employee on AI tokens, according to the failing New York Times. 7 out of 10 market peak indicators have been triggered, according to Bank of America. The U.S. declined to extend its signature trade pact, the USMCA, right? I believe that was what it was called. They got rid of NAFTA, right? And they brought in this under the first Trump administration. Now, no more trade pact with Mexico and Canada, as Trump has started these trade wars. Kind of big news, actually. What is it? USMCA, I believe. So that will not be re-upped. We'll keep an eye on if there's going to be a new North American trade pact. But as of right now, not set to be re-upped. And you will own nothing and be very unhappy because you'll be going, what the hell? Why do I own nothing? Well, PlayStation says new games to be digital only starting in 2028. Hold on to your real physical media, your CDs, your books. Because as we know, everything digital, they just memory hole it, change it in real time, play many different games out there. And so they literally want everybody to own nothing. You will be on the perpetual subscription service for everything, and you can not actually buy and own the software any longer across the whole software industry, right? It's all going this way. Everybody can see it. I want to buy the freaking disc and own it and pay one time, and I have that software and I use it. No, now you're stuck in perpetual serfdom, essentially, never being able to own anything. Trump drops restrictions on Anthropic's mythos and fable models. The AI boom in global stock markets has become an unsustainable bubble. That's a Wellspring Asset Investment Management Center said. 60% of companies already curbed AI spending, with companies shifting to lower cost models and open source Chinese models, according to UBS. The K-shaped economy, with the well-to-do thriving and everyone else lagging, remains firmly intact, and there is no sign that the trend line will reverse soon, Moody's said earlier today. The golden age, Macron announces huge investment in Trump accounts. Another payoff, you see, because they're under investigation now for price fixing with other semiconductor makers. And so this is another payoff. Another payoff. You're going to see that investigation quietly dropped, I predict. Mike Ron announces historic $250 million investment in Trump accounts. Well, they're just great philanthropists that care about the youth of America. No, these are straight up payoffs. Damn, man. It's the corruption's literally in our face for anybody that cares to look and not be a goofball idiot saying USA, USA, USA. Damn, man. Gasoline prices remain unchanged from yesterday. According to AAA's national average for the price of a gallon of gasoline, it's at $3.85 on average nationwide. You can see right here, unmoved, unchanged from yesterday. I don't know why. We blew up Iran. There's peace in the Middle East. No, actually, they're having problems even talking about peace is why. And we're being gouged. We're being price gouged by Rockefeller oil oligarchs. But don't you worry. Trump says the feds are looking into it. Strait of Hormuz kept as warlike operations zone until July 9th. Unions and employers say. Unions and shipping employers announced earlier today that the Strait of Hormuz will remain classified as a warlike operations area until at least July 9th, preserving double pay for eligible seafarers. The designation applies only to vessels operated by companies that are signatories to the International Bargaining Forum labor agreements, which cover approximately 15,000 ships worldwide. Seafarers protected under the agreement who work on ships transiting the strait and nearby waters are entitled to double wages. They also retain the right to refuse assignments in the area and request reparation at their employer's expense, adding to operating costs for shipping companies. The decision recognizes the continuing and significant risk to life and the rapidly evolving situation in the area. A joint statement from International Transit Workers Federation and Joint Negotiating Group, which represents maritime industry employees, said, according to a report out of AFP. The strait's open, bro. All the oil in the world. Everything's wonderful. Xi Jinping, president of China, said, we advocate for the building of a community with a shared future for humanity. They stay on message. I'll give China that. They stay on message. Shared future of humanity, providing Chinese wisdom, Chinese proposals, and Chinese strength for addressing major issues facing humanity. The socialist China, led by the party, is recognized as a builder of world peace, a contributor to global development, and a defender of the international order. He had more to say. Xi Jinping on Marxism. Let me play you this clip. It is translated into English for us. This is from CPC 105, 105 years as they're celebrating their communism over there in China.
105 years of unremitting efforts have demonstrated the strong vitality of Marxism. The party has adapted the basic tenets of Marxism to China's specific realities and to fine traditional Chinese culture. The party has kept adapting Marxism to the Chinese context and the needs of our times, and established Mao Zedong thought, Deng Xiaoping theory, the theory of three represents, the scientific outlook on development, and the thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era, greatly enriching and developing Marxism. Today, the vigor and vitality of the cause of socialism with Chinese characteristics has fully tested Marxism as a scientific truth and demonstrated its people-centered and practical nature, and demonstrated its open-ended nature and contemporary relevance.
They said it again, a new era. They keep saying it. We've been covering it the last 2 years here since they started it. We're in a new era, a new world order. At the top of all these governments, we're seeing a soft power transfer from the West to the East, a la China. Xi went on to say, the party always stands on the right side of history and stands on the side of human progress, and with its tireless endeavor has profoundly changed the trajectory and dynamics of the world. Today, the party is leading the people in advancing Chinese modernization, creating a new form of human advancement, and expanding the pathway of developing countries toward modernization. They're using the soft hand of power there as America foreign policy. Per Secretary of War, we negotiate with bombs. Spain orders blacklist of U.S. tech giant Palantir from public and private companies. The Spanish government blacklisted Palantir due to growing concerns over the potential misuse of classified national security information. Oh, Palantir would never do that. Here's Palantir CEO Alex Karp on CNBC earlier today.
Oh, look, Israel. I'm going to leave the Israeli thing for my talking to them in private, because I just don't think at this point it's very hard in public to talk about them, because you just have people. Look, there are legitimate criticisms of Israel. Half the people criticizing Israel just don't believe it should exist, and that's just a fact. And so, I'm not going to totally play into their hands by saying things I say in private. In America, America has to rep his own interests. Do I think Iran's been degraded? Yes. Are there things that I don't think are in the public space that would be comforting people if they are? Yes. And I'll leave it at that.
He's the greatest CEO for Aardvark land, he says in this clip. I don't know what's up with that. Try to do it again here. Here we go.
Government and the work you do there, how you think about that disconnect.
This is like so many things. I am the most publicly supportive CEO of Israel, and that's true. I think Israel is on the side of good. Now, in private, because I'm known there to be fair, I'm probably also the most effective critic of like, hey, I didn't agree with this, without going in. And I would be very happy to be more in public about that, except for I think not all. There are many legitimate criticisms of Israel and every other country. Although I would say, do you want a country that can sometimes be difficult as your partner, or do you want partners that have no tech scene as a partner? And so like, it's like in this world, having a fully adult, independent, aligned country that doesn't always agree with us is much better than what we somehow have in Europe.
They want to massacre more people than even Palantir can offer up kill lists for. Germany is pushing the United States to let American weapons be manufactured in Germany. Many say they did not see this coming after World War II, hoping to speed up European rearmament while giving Trump an economic incentive to stay committed to NATO. Discussions include co-producing Tomahawk cruise missiles and advanced Patriot PAC-3 missiles, with U.S. officials reportedly more receptive than expected. Berlin argues Germany's industrial base can help relieve U.S. production bottlenecks and deliver weapons to Europe faster as a response to the Russian threat. Existing cooperation already includes rim metal building, F-35 fuselage sections, and joint Patriot missile production. However, any deal would require U.S. approval to transfer sensitive military technology. Report out of the Financial Times. Zelensky, the dictator of Ukraine, says right now Russia can do only one thing: kill. Russia no longer has a strong economy. Russia can no longer save face. He also went on to say Russia may not see peace as its priority today, but we will make them. As we've reported here, ongoing attacks, long-range missile attacks into Russia via Ukraine, via US, via UK, NATO. Russia's begun importing gasoline from India to ease nationwide fuel shortages caused by Ukrainian drone attacks on its oil refineries. At least 60,000 metric tons have already been shipped, with Russia reportedly planning to import up to 400,000 tons per month from multiple countries, including Belarus. The shortages have led to fuel rationing, long queues at gas stations, and record gasoline prices, according to a report out of Reuters, all per design as part of the engineered famine, energy crisis, chaos. They blew up Ukraine in our proxy war against Russia, blew up a bunch of their oil manufacturing capabilities, and so now they're suffering fuel shortages. Germany's first Nord Stream indictment, a Ukrainian ex-soldier, prosecutor said Sergei K. was head of Andromeda team charged with a war crime, not just sabotage. The alleged evidence includes him incriminating himself on wiretap phone calls. I thought Putin blew up his own Nord Stream there. No, turns out it was Ukraine. Oh, it was ex-Ukraine. He was a lone wolf actor. We'll follow this as it develops with Germany's first indictment of the Nord Stream bombers there. Syrian president, former Al-Qaeda, now a fine, upstanding young man and very handsome, according to Trump. Al-Shara has finalized the first post-Assad transition parliament by appointing 70 members there in Syria. The new parliament will hold its first session on July 6th, according to AFP. They're getting it together there. And they said, we're not going to be your proxy army in Lebanon as well to America. So maybe he is a fine, upstanding young man, from terrorist to this good-looking young man, according to Trump. There you go. Anything can happen in this world. You can go from being an internationally wanted terrorist with a $10 million price tag on your head to president of Syria. Iran's Ghalibaf said, my mission on my upcoming visit to China is to upgrade Tehran-Beijing ties to a strategic partnership. Not good for us. China publicly demonstrated its truck-mounted electromagnetic aircraft launch system, EMALS, for the first time, successfully launching a drone from a modular catapult built from multiple linked trucks. 3 or more trucks connected to form a catapult that can be readily assembled and moved. The catapult is part of a broader family of containerized military systems, including missiles, radars, electronic warfare, and command centers that can be deployed from ships or land. It is designed to launch drones where runways do not exist, such as islands, remote areas, or civilian ships. Converted into drone carriers, Chinese sources reportedly aim to produce 2,000 containerized systems annually. Let's watch this short report so you could get an idea from this video about what I'm talking about with this literally pop-up runway to launch drones. Quite a setup there. You could see you could launch a drone from that ship like they're showing, but what, one, how many is this? 3, right? 1, 2, 3, however long that is. If you got that much space and you can get these things positioned, you can go ahead and start launching your drones there out of China. Senior Trump administration officials are sharply criticizing Venezuelan opposition leader Machado. I don't know why she gave Trump her fake Nobel Peace of Crap Prize over her efforts to return to Venezuela following last week's devastating earthquake, calling the move a distraction from U.S.-backed relief efforts. It's political opportunism and it's grotesque, one State Department official said. So ridiculous. So freaking ridiculous. This psychotic who thought she was going to be installed as a U.S. puppet there in Venezuela has fallen on hard times, sadly enough. But she did give Trump her fake Nobel Prize. This one, Keir Starmer, Fabian Socialist, now resigned in shame. Outgoing Prime Minister of UK says we have the gayest parliament in the world. I'm sure that's what the old Brits strive for. Outgoing Prime Minister of the UK, Keir Starmer, declared the UK legislature the, quote, gayest parliament in the world during a Downing Street reception in an attempt to defend his administration's record on LGBTQ plus rights. I do believe we have a video of it as well. So something to be proud of, the gayest parliament in the world there in the UK. Well, our Congress is pretty fake and gay here.
Really proud that we got the gayest parliament. I don't think just of all time anywhere in the world. I don't think there's any parliament that is gayer than this parliament. Really proud that we got the gayest parliament. I don't think just of all time anywhere in the world. I don't think there's any.
I don't know. I guess we don't have a parliamentary system. Allegedly, we're a constitutional republic, but our Congress is pretty fake and gay. We may put up some competition there with the UK gayest parliament. Segue to Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham, the liberation of Cuba is upon us. We're not even done with Iran war. They're already to go attack Cuba next. Fake and gay senator out of South Carolina, Lindsey Graham, endorsed by Trump.
I'm not looking for a fair fight. If we get in a fight, I want to win it. I want to win it quick. I'm in Miami. You see this hat? Free Cuba. Stay tuned. Yeah. The liberation of Cuba is upon us. It's just a matter of time now. You see this hat? Make Iran great. President Trump said the only way to make Iran great is for the people to take over. We're marching through the world. We're cleaning out the bad guys. We're going to have relationships with new people that will make us prosperous and safe. I've never seen anybody like it. This is Ronald Reagan plus. Donald Trump is.
There he is selling U.S. imperialism. Truly disgusting. Here's Trump earlier today hinting about going into Cuba. And they keep saying Cuba's next on the list.
Soon after they relinquished their grip on Cuba and Guam, the Philippines and Puerto Rico, and they were all ours. We got them all. And speaking of Cuba, after many, many decades, it's coming our way. Coming our way.
Yay, another illegal foreign war of aggression. USA. It's just like, God, man, it's just. Meme of the day out of the Department of War here now. Unstoppable and unyielding, the American legacy. They put out a few memes today. Legacy, yeah. Never-ending illegal foreign wars of aggression. That is the legacy. And this meme of the day, the Department of War continues to open its doors and increase transparency, giving companies the timely decisions they need to stay agile in a highly competitive commercial environment by opening the aperture to new entrants. The department will ensure that our war fighters receive the most lethal and comprehensive suite of capabilities to dominate across all domains of warfare, building the modern arsenal of freedom. And this is pretty creepy. They put the color test over the soldiers' eyes there. And when you got all these different rockets, guns, drones, drone boats, right? Yeah, we're going to blow up the world. Yeah, America. Opening the aperture to new entrants. We covered that yesterday. They're recruiting, 2,000 new engineers into the Department of War there to go ahead and build out Skynet, essentially. So, yeah, very exciting there. And are we going to have these hypersonic missiles? They allege, hopefully. Russia alleges they have the Reznik, unstoppable. America don't have it. But as we continue to report, Castilian has got this contract. They did a bunch of celebrations. They say they had successful tests. Who's this guy? Is he the CEO of Castilian? Yeah, CEO of Castilian. Brian Hargis. Yeah, you should be happy. They got a big old government contract. He said, I greatly appreciate the discussion last week with Secretary of War about rapidly increasing munitions production. The progress in New Mexico on our 1,000-acre site dedicated to producing thousands of highly capable yet affordable hypersonic weapons each year is incredible. Construction is months ahead of schedule, and we intend to continue expansion of our manufacturing capabilities. Castilian is moving at maximum speed to deliver hypersonic weapons at scale and at a price the nation can afford. We are honored to have outstanding partners at the state and local levels, as well as contractors who are building this site from the ground up. Here they are. Yeah, they got a whole bunch of money. Can you deliver on actual scaled hypersonic weapons? We shall see. They'll lie if they can't, right? So it doesn't really matter, I guess. But we do. Feels like we need hypersonics with Russia, and it's a Reznik, allegedly. Space is congested. Defense Innovation Unit post on the X. They say space is congested and contested operational environment, and the Department of War is preparing to respond swiftly and dynamically to threats and other force protection needs on orbit. Last week, Rocket Lab and our partners at USSF Space Station Command Space Safari Program Office successfully launched the Victus Haze mission, a specially modified Rocket Lab spacecraft launched on their own Electron rocket into previously unknown orbit only 16 hours and 42 minutes after receiving the launch order. This timeline smashed our 24-hour target by 30% and set a new record in tactically responsive space launch by 10 hours. So everything's just full speed, rocket speed, Operation Warp Speed. Here now. Are they actually going to space? Their images they post don't appear. They've broken the veil there. They do love their phallic symbols, don't they? They certainly do. Look, looks like it hit the firmament or didn't even reach the firmament and then came back down. They're in orbit though. How dare anyone question the never-ending black hole of fraud of the U.S. space program? Here's Millet out of Argentina. He's declared modern-day Aardvark land gave birth to Western civilization. So we wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for Aardvark land, apparently. That's what all these jokers keep saying. He says Aardvark land is the last wall protecting Western civilization, and that if Aardvark land falls, the rest of Western civilization will fall. Millet is placing Aardvark land interest above those of Argentina. Yeah, because he's self-proclaimed the biggest Zionist president in the world.
Let me be clear about something else. Israel is the West bastion it is, the retaining wall against an anti-Western escalation. Fight against Israel does not end in Israel. If Israel to fall, they would come for the entire West. We have to defend Israel because it is a just cause. Above all, because it is a just cause. But if some do not understand it as a just cause, they should at least understand it as a matter of self-preservation.
Well, they're genociding. Now it's up to 73,000. We have the official numbers of Palestinians. Here's Traitor Huckabee. This guy's straight up. I don't just throw around the words treason and traitor. He's literally hanging out with Jonathan Pollard, a convicted spy for Aardvark land against America. We're supposed to say, oh, yeah, he's wonderful. He's a good Christian Zionist. No, he's a traitor piece of garbage.
For those of you that don't realize it, 700,000 Americans represent an entire congressional district in the U.S. That's how many people live in a congressional district. When members of Congress come, I always say, welcome to Israel, the 436th congressional district of the U.S. For those of you...
What? More from Huckabee.
Would finally and rightfully stand with Israel where God placed its capital. It's not just that you made that decision. I would say God made that decision 3,800 years ago. And we finally got around to acknowledging what had been determined long before the United States of America came along.
One more from Huckabee.
What a blessing it is this year to be an American, because America is 250 years old as of this coming Saturday. Yes, I'm fairly old, but I was not around at the beginning of the country. I just want to make that clear. We think of 250 years in America as being an extraordinarily long time. But the fact is, when I realize where I am here in Israel, and I realize you guys have been around for 3,800 years and still going, we feel kind.
It's their lies are just so tiring. The modern day state of Israel is created by the UK and the city of London, Rothschilds. I mean, give me a freaking break, dude. It's absurd. With the Aardvark people, there would, without them, let's watch this, straight up treason again. And the founding fathers, according to these clowns, all had the little hats, right? I mean, it's just absurd.
Of government, it is the divine appointment of what God gave first to Moses on Mount Sinai and then throughout history. If there had never been that law, if there had never been the Jewish people to whom that law was given, and then through whom the responsibility was handed to make sure that that law, that natural law, would be preserved and passed on, there would never have been an America. And our founders in America understood that. That's why George Washington gave so much credit in his writings and in his speaking to the fact that America owes its roots to the children of Abraham.
George Washington was a Freemason. In a violation of international law, U.S. Ambassador Mike Huckabee and Foreign Minister to Aardvark land Saar signed an agreement on establishment of a permanent U.S. embassy in occupied Jerusalem. British Museum concludes with pro-Aardvark land, or colludes, with pro-Aardvark land lobby to erase Palestine from historical exhibits. An investigation by Middle East Eye has exposed the British Museum for covertly removing the terms Palestine, Palestinian, and Aardvark land occupation from its historical displays following intensive lobbying by pro-genocidal groups. And yeah, they're bombing the hell out of southern Lebanon as we continue to report here now. Earlier today, last 24 hours, let's just say, for accuracy purposes, Aardvark land drone drops 3 sound bombs on southern Lebanese town of Yatter. South Lebanon, Aardvark land forces intensified demolitions, arson, and shelling across parts of southern Lebanon. They continue to occupy, according to Hadi Hot Et, their dude on the ground. A reporter there on the ground. He's come back from shelling. He's been injured, but continues to report there on the ground. Aardvark Land Occupation Army escalated its sabotage and demolition operations in areas occupied by ground forces in South Lebanon, which forms about 7% of Lebanese official territories. Demolitions and fires were reported in the last 24 hours. You know, some still images there you can see. They do like their arson. Courtney Banu reports Aardvark land attacks on villages and towns across southern Lebanon. There, machine gun fire being reported, demolitions of houses, and burning of civilian homes. In the distance, you can see there. Aardvark Land drones bombing there in Lebanon. Short clip here. It's ongoing. And so how are we going to have peace with Iran? Well, we're not. We're not. 4,297 Lebanese have been killed and 12,196 Lebanese civilians injured by Aardvark Land attacks since March 2nd, according to Lebanese Ministry of Health. 1 million, over 1 million Lebanese, 1.4 million Lebanese face permanent dislocation, i.e. ethnic cleansing, according to the United Nations humanitarian coordinator in Lebanon. So over 1 million Lebanese have been ethnically cleansed off of their land, which is a gigantic war crime. Argachai warns Aardvark Land after Cat says Khomeini is marked for death. We covered that at the beginning, but yeah. Muzzling its pets in Tel Aviv is what he says U.S. needs to do for peace with Iran. It's not happening. We can't muzzle our pets there in Tel Aviv, can we? And they're still genociding the Palestinians as well as the Lebanese. An Aardvark Land drone strike targeting a group of people near Dar al-Arqim school in northwest Gaza City has killed 30-year-old and wounded 4 others. A second fatality was also identified as Saad Dawala. Three Palestinians killed in Aardvark Land airstrikes across Gaza earlier today. They're literally bombing refugees in tents at this point. They're taking all of Gaza, as Bibi has said. As Bibi has said multiple, and they've all said it all in the Bibi cabinet on multiple occasions. They're taking it all. And there's images of them, their arms and legs blowing up. And I'm not going to show it. It's like war porn. It's horrific. Iraq body count posted on the X. Gaza's Ministry of Health certified 72,835 Palestinians, civilians, have been killed between October 7th, 2023 and May 7th, 2026. Here's the graphic. It's even more than that. It's past 73,000 now. But here's the infographic documenting it all right there. The Gaza genocide timeline. You can see right here the year, the date on the top, The body counts here, all quite horrific. Gaza's Ministry of Health certified 72,835 Palestinians violently killed between October 7, 2023 and May 7, 2026. The bar graph represents deaths recorded in each of 135 weeks, along with the death toll of each month. This does not include deaths due to aardvark land blockades, restrictions, restricting access to food, fuel, water, shelter, medical supplies, and treatment. Totals for recent months may include a number of recovered bodies and other victims who were killed in earlier periods. Thousands more remain missing. These data extend and replace earlier lists of named victims containing demographic details released by the Gaza Ministry of Health and reflect their continuing efforts to record, identify, and publicly register the dead in Gaza. And you see right there, 21,637 children, men, women, elders, babies, 1,072 babies, 5,293 toddlers, 5 years or younger, whacked by the aardvarks there. Also tragic and horrific. Trump's Board of Peace prepares gated Gaza camps under expanding aardvark land occupation. Trump's Board of Peace and aardvark land are planning to transfer Palestinians in Gaza into so-called, quote, humanitarian shelters in order to disconnect the Strip's population from Hamas. Well, aardvark land forces solidify and expand their occupation. Aardvark land media reported earlier today. Adelson newspaper, Aardvark Hayam, said that the Board of Peace plan, referred to as a pilot program, they're going to whack all them too and say, well, it was a humanitarian of us. So U.S.-backed or UN-backed Board of Peace says there is no place for UNRWA, the UN agency for Palestinian refugees, in a, quote, new Gaza. Here's their post. UNRWA has no place in the new Gaza. Neither do Palestinians, for that matter. It's now the Trump Riviera. Remember, they floated the idea of turning it into this 15-minute high-tech prison. Looks like they kind of gave up on that idea, and they just said, well, we'll just whack everybody. Screw it. You know what I mean? So we're still waiting to see how the new Gaza will develop. West Bank, aardvark forces in the occupied West Bank detained at least 20 Palestinians across the occupied West Bank, including in East Jerusalem, late night last night and into early morning today. According to Palestinian Prisoners Society, those detained included 5 women, a Palestinian journalist from Bethlehem. The group said aardvark land authorities have intensified raids since the start of the war on Gaza, with more than 24,000 arrests recorded across the occupied West Bank since October 7, 2023. The number of Palestinian women held in aardvark land prisons has risen to 99, while the number of detained journalists has reached 42, including 2 held under enforced disappearance. Separately, aardvark land police attacked mourners at a funeral, launching tear gas canisters and firing rubber bullets upon the mourners at a funeral in Jerusalem. Aardvark land forces abduct Palestinian healthcare activists in sweeping West Bank raids. That's part of the program, is to destroy any type of public health infrastructure. Literally anybody with a Band-Aid at this point, they shoot you or abduct you and imprison you and probably whack you later. If you literally have a Band-Aid at this point to give some injured person there, they're going to target you. And then finally, exhaustive report exposes Aardvark land's use of sexual violence against Palestinians in Nakba. A comprehensive 200-page joint investigation by the Palestinian Feminist Collective and the Progressive International has exposed Aardvark land's systemic deployment of sexualized and gendered violence against Palestinians. The exhaustive report, titled A Predatory State, Aardvark land's systemic sexualized and gendered violence against Palestinians, details an unbroken timeline of abuse stretching from the 1948 Nakba to the ongoing post-October 2023 genocide. The findings demonstrate that these severe violations are not isolated instances of soldier misconduct, but are fully institutionalized mechanisms engineered for colonial displacement and societal fragmentation. Historical documentation within the report reveals that Zionist militias routinely weaponized rape and sexual enslavement during the 1948 mass expulsion, establishing a foundational doctrine of trauma that intensified across Aardvark land detention infrastructure after 1967. According to the Palestinian Feminist Collective, the scope of violence expanded dramatically following October 2023, following widespread instances of simulated rape, forced nudity, and genital torture across all demographics. The investigation highlights a prominent tactical shift targeting the reproductive organs of Palestinian men and operational method designed to dismantle conventional family structures and cripple community cohesion. The joint findings indicate that these abuses are structurally coordinated across Aardvark land's judicial, military, and intelligence frameworks with broad domestic and institutional backing. The report highlighted extreme cases, including a training of military dogs to sexually assault Palestinian prisoners at the notorious Seed Tayemen detention facility, alongside the routine use of digital blackmail targeting vulnerable populations. Analysts and human rights defenders cited the document, emphasizing that this decades-long pattern of sexual coercion is woven directly into the daily logistics of the occupation to break the collective will of Palestinian resistance. A predatory state, Aardvark land's systemic, sexualized, and gendered violence against Palestinians. I'll post the links to all that and almost everything we talked about here at Weaponized News Substack for documentation and your further research purposes. Have we started heavy bombing of Iran since the time we've been live here? Let's check Iran International quickly as we end the program here. Iran International top headlines. Qatar says U.S.-Iran talks make progress to continue after Khomeini funeral. Haaretz is under Iran's control. or Hormuz, excuse me. Strait of Hormuz is under Iran's control, not CENTCOM's. Iran's deputy foreign minister says US B-52 force leaves UK as Iran talks continue. US-Iran war leaves everyone worse off, lawmakers say. Iran says no access to damaged sites for IAEA, limited access to 2 reactors. And then finally, Al Jazeera headlines, and we'll wrap up this show. Al Jazeera top headline says, positive progress as U.S.-Iran wrap up indirect technical talks in Doha. Tanker trackers says grounded Strait of Hormuz tanker tied to Iranian oil magnate. What we know about U.S.-Iran talks in Qatar. Strait of Hormuz traffic holding steady. Iran soccer team welcomed home after U.S. World Cup exit. Psychological toll mounts on U.S. Lebanese villages erased by Aardvark land demolition campaign. And that's all the reporting I got for you today. Let's pray for peace. It seems nothing will stop our pet on a leash there in Tel Aviv. Okay, over to the channels now. Let me go to Odysee first and see if we have any viewers and chat going on there. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on this Wednesday edition of Weaponized News. A few over there in the Odysee chat. Not many today. Shout out to Pink Gur. Duct tape can't fix stupid, but it'd muffle the sound. They are dragging Trump through a humiliation ritual, Pink says. Yep. Hey, Sam. There, everyone. Sam, peace out. Court suck due to criminal judge. Sounds like court. All right. Shout out to Forrest Scully as well. Thank you guys for tuning in and chatting it up a little bit. Not much chat over there on the Odysee today. Hopefully we can get, I see a few big chatters are missing. So hopefully we can pick them up again tomorrow. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and chatting it up on the Odysee. Give me that like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on X, Kick, Substack, Bitchute, YouTube, and Rumble. Let's go over to the Rumble and YouTube chats now. Shout out to Yusuf. Shout out to Chloe on the Rumble. Mac. Ruckus is complaining. Pride Month is over, but everything is still gay. Very true. MAGA is here to stay, Richard says. Sure they are. Monica says, Biden and Obama are criminals, the most horrific. Trump knows how to make money and stop corruption. Yeah, okay. Then, are these people, these are not real people. These got to be bots, because I know it's hard, but wrap your mind around the fact the entire government, whatever puppet, hero, professional wrestler in the Wrestling Hall of Fame, actor they put up there, that's who Trump is, an actor. Whoever they put up there, it doesn't matter, because the government is an organized crime syndicate. Pick your flavor of corruption, red, white, or blue. Jason says, can I tell you aren't from Virginia? Rico County. Yeah, I'm not from Virginia. Fat Bob was on the Rumble today. Man from Oz. Yeah. Brola walks again by night. Virginia has 37 data centers. How amazing. And Russia is rationing gasoline. Okay. Got any solution? You just blowing hot air, because anyone can sit around and complain, pointing fingers. So what do we do? Well, the non-violent first thing to do is do not comply. Do not comply. Brother, AI was happening either way. Let's see. Trump. Go Trump. We love you, Chief. American the GOAT says. They love the corruption, I guess. You love inflation too, huh? Good job, guys. Let's just give it away to Somali fraud then. Discussing how the insider trading is completely out in the open. It's more than insider trading. It's straight up paid for play, rigged contracts. Lies, you hate President Trump. Shame on you. Wow. Silver on the Rumble. AI protocols come into effect in China, Malaysia, Vietnam, Australia. Each country has implemented its piece of AI stable coin as of July 1st. US dollars is in line. Enjoy AI prison, my friends. Well, thank you, Silver. We do appreciate it. I believe Silver's out of Australia. So, yeah, we do love our prison. So we'll be catching up with Australia soon. There. Not to argue with you, but I'm standing right by your side, mate. They are accelerating this now. Yeah. Silver's saying. Fat Bob's just joking. He says, F it. I'm UBI guy now. Oh, man. NAFTA collapsed the American economy. Some trolls. We got some trolls or bots, whatever they are, that apparently there is no level of Trump corruption they won't love. Denial is the first symptom of TDS. Denial of what? Let's see. Golden Tulip says that is so they can rug your gaming account. Gates, Trump. They say I'm delusional. I've done nothing but report straight up facts here. Straight up facts. They say $3.29 a gallon in the Midwest. Go to AAA and read the. I just can't with these people. All right, I got to sign off now. Thank you to everybody that tuned in, even the trolls. Fact check me, bro, because I'm 100% accurate here on my reporting, and you go live in your delusion and keep trusting the government. But seriously, let's pray for peace. As always, everybody do your own research. Peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Wednesday evening, and we'll be back here on Thursday for more.